This is my Musky Buyer's Guide 2022.
Santa's coming to town!
Santa! Oh my God!
So yeah, I'm going to be going over some ideas, maybe some off the wall or maybe outside the box thoughts as to what you could get that special musky fisherman in your life. As always, if you have any questions, drop a comment. I'll be glad to clarify and or expand upon anything that I address here. Also, if you don't so much mind, please consider subscribing. There's plenty of musky stuff on the way. And like Brian says, you don't even have to smash the subscribe button. You could probably tap it, click it, punch it, whatever. I don't really care what you do, but if you like the stuff, please follow along. Anyway, these are going to be my thoughts related to things that you could potentially get a musky fisherman that doesn't relate to lures or gear specifically, that might be a little more accessible to family members who don't understand musky fishing as well. And the last thing that we want is another box rider, because if you're like me, you've got a few of those. So without further ado, this is the list. Okay. First thing that I will address, maybe I'll link a picture if I can figure out how to work my editing software, like up in this region here, is a lure retriever. Lure retrievers are huge. There's two different kinds. You've got like your fray bill or your money pole, and you got your like Franks, and they each serve a different purpose and work really well for different things. Franks works really good if you are trying to get lures back that you've been trolling that are pretty deep. But if you're casting a lot, the best option and least expensive option is going to be your fray bill, money pull, whatever you want to call it. They're really affordable. They're like 30 bucks for the money pull thing. I cannot even tell you how much money I have saved with mine. Like if I lost every lure that my lure retriever has retrieved, I would hate to even guess. It would be in the thousands by a lot. That might be a bit of a critique on my own hang-up abilities there. But in my defense, there are a lot of sunken trees here in Iowa. I don't get hung up near as much in Wisconsin, where there's more weeds and natural cover. Anyway, I digress before I out myself more. The next thing on the list here that I have is clothing.
But what would I wear?
You might be like, Matt, I get socks literally every year from my parents for Christmas, and maybe even some boxers too. Besides the point. The biggest reason that I have clothing on this list is you'll catch a theme here soon, and that is because in musky fishing, time on the water is the most critical element of being successful. And the longer that you can be on the water, the more chances that you will have at being successful, and the more opportunities you will have at success. So, the reason I have clothing on the list is just because if you are comfortable on the water, it's likely you will be on the water longer. So, when it's hot, get your angler in mind, a UPF shirt. If you're going on a trip for 3 or 4 days and you get sunburnt to a crisp on day one,
It's so damn hot. Milk was a bad choice.
it is going to be painful to fish, cast, do all the things that you need to do for however many days are left in your trip. 3, 4 days, whatever the case may be. It is not fun to be burnt to a crisp and trying to catch fish, especially when, however long you've had that trip planned out. So another thing is cold weather. I have, this is a down vest that I got recently. It's not, down vests aren't cheap. Whether you get them from Eddie Bauer or Columbia or wherever the case may be, Kohl's, it doesn't matter. The brand isn't important, but my point is that, vests are a really good resource to be on the water. You see me wear them in the videos all the time, and there's a reason for it. They keep your core warm, And then on top of that, you know, it allows you the mobility within your arms to cast, to retrieve.
Do you want to go do karate in the garage?
Yup.
To do things without feeling the constriction of wearing a full jacket. If you ice fish, you know exactly what I mean when you're layering up for that cold day that you know you're going to be chasing crappies all over the basin, and you just got to layer up. It's best to avoid that when you're musky fishing. There's times where you can't, I get it, but again, vests are really helpful for that. But again, my point isn't necessarily the UPF shirt or the vest. It's knowing what your angler has, knowing what they use for gear on a regular basis, and then catering that holiday wish list to their needs. The next thing ties directly into staying on the water longer, and I cannot emphasize this enough. Get the best gear that you can with the budget that you have that allows. Now, I know musky fishing is not cheap. I'm there with you. I get it. It is far from it. We're talking like $20 to $40 lures as a normative price point. We're talking like $200 to $400 rods as a normative price point. We're talking about reels that are, you know, $200 to $400 as well as a normative price point. Like, that is not cheap. But the thing is if you have the right rod and reel paired together, it makes your time on the water more enjoyable. You can do it longer, you eliminate fatigue, and you can do it more days in a row. Now, I'm not saying that everyone's budget is the same. I'm a teacher. Like, I get it. I don't make a lot of money. My budget is tight. But at the same time, you know, you've got to juxtapose whether or not those critical times where you're able to make it onto the water is you know, if that is justified by the price point of the gear that keeps you there longer when those rare times occur. For me, it's an easy justification to make. And like, for your angler in mind, gift cards are always a good option. You know, maybe you can offset some of those costs that they would have with that expensive gear. Are you done? You probably can't see the black cat in the background. Well, you can see your eyeballs just just a little bit. All right. Moving on to the next thing. When is the last time your angler in mind got a new net? It's one of those things that goes overlooked, and I'm guilty of it myself. I had a fish bite through my net not that long ago. You know, I don't know. You know, it's one of those things. It sits out in the sun. It may be on the deck of your boat for many days in a row. Dry rot is a thing, or, you know, the UV rays degrading it is a thing. So think about those things. If you don't know, maybe ask your angler in mind. I have no idea. But it's something to think about that a lot of times kind of goes overlooked. All right, another thing to think about. It's not glamorous. It's not great, but probably goes overlooked as well, is your terminal tackle and first aid kit or other boat accessories. There are a multitude of things. But for the point of this one, I'm going to stick to terminal tackle as well as first aid. First aid is essential. Fish have teeth. Sometimes you get stuck. It happens. Like, if we can avoid an ER visit or a trip to urgent care.
No, Rose, they are not breathing, and they have no arms or legs.
Again, I've been there, but it's best to avoid those things if possible. First aid kit will do that. Terminal tackle, it's not glamorous, but at the same time, braided line's not cheap. Hooks aren't cheap. Well, I mean, it depends on what hooks you buy. I'm kind of a hook snob, as those who fish with me know. But again, it's just eliminating costs for your angler for things that they may or may not want to purchase on their own. Let's see. That pretty much covers it all except for one thing, and one thing only. And I have been fortunate to be on the receiving end of this gift as well. If you are totally at a loss for your musky angler in mind, a good option to get them is a guide trip. There are so many very knowledgeable guides. There are so many good dudes out there that really know their stuff, who love to take people fishing and want to get people in the boat. So if you're at a total loss and you have the disposable income to make a guide trip happen, it's always a worthwhile investment. You can learn a lot from guides, even if the bite is tough. Usually it makes you more familiar with bodies of water or breaking down bodies of water you may not be familiar with, and it'll provide you a new angle and perspective to approach the sport that you may never even thought about or realized before. So I cannot advocate for that enough. It helps put money in the pocket of hardworking dudes all over the country. You know, you learn a lot. And at the end of the day, you're probably going to catch some fish, because anyone who's been a guide in the industry knows their stuff and they know how to get the job done. That's my buyer's guide for Christmas 2022. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop a comment. I'd be curious to know your thoughts. Again, not a super glamorous tackle talk, not a lot of lures, but I think really valuable or useful information. If you'd be so kind, consider subscribing. I've got plenty of musky stuff on the way, a couple more tackle talks as well. So there is plenty coming down the pipe. I try and put out shorts on a fairly regular basis just to keep people engaged on the channel. I don't know if people enjoy those. I've got like long form viewers and shorts viewers, and it's whatever. I'm just trying to keep up with the times. Anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas season with your family and friends. Go Hawks. Happy holidays. I'll catch you all in the next one.